Well, thank you. It's so nice to see you all. I have some friends in the audience. I have some mentees in the audience that I mentored to Beha Futures Foundation over the last couple of years. Haven't met them face to face, just basically online through the world of Teams, Zoom, and all other WhatsApps mostly. So thank you very much for having me today. I wanted to start with my watch. Let me just get my heart rate straight. You know, being on a stage with two young people, it's a privilege. And of course, IoT watch is one of the IoT gadgets. Apple Watch is one of the gadgets. And some of you know that being on the stage is so frightful for some of the people, right? It's the second fear that people have in their life. Next to death, it's the first one, actually. So let me get that straight. Good. I want to start my talk with thanking to Haris Arnautovic, bring some more visibility to that guy over the last couple of days, because he was the one who invited me for this talk. And I told him, Haris, let me think about it over the night, because for two reasons. And one of them is very big reason, and that is speaking in front of the young people is different than speaking in front of the business people who make decisions for a corporate world. They have strong strategies, they have plans, targets, there's a guidelines, how you purchase software and so on. But speaking in front of the people like I was 15 years ago, it's a big honor, but it's also a big responsibility. Because we all here today are planting the seed for the future. So it's a responsibility that we all have here to put, good thoughts and of course empower you to make the even better and bigger and stronger projects than each one of us had done sitting here on the stage. And the second reason is the family, of course. I don't know how many of you here have families and small kids, but that's also very important when discussing and agreeing to come to a talk to make sure that family is doing well, because a balance in life is quite important next to career and all that stress and all that excitement and speaking on the stages. But family being good and well in place, it's what drives us towards the future. So it's quite important. Try to find me on this picture. Who guesses first gets a coffee with me later on. So I'm here in the middle. This picture has been taken a couple of years ago, and I want to walk you through the journey of me joining the IoT and this Internet of Things. And I proudly say I was in IoT before it was called IoT, because back then it was called M2M, machine to machine. So basically, because it's a machine like this one, like this watch that is talking to like my phone and getting rates of my heart and other things, my walk steps and things like that. So I was there before it was called Internet of Things. And being with a few women on the stage, and I'm very happy to call myself the female leader. I was introduced there, and I'm very strongly advocating to different associations, like the Businesswomen of Bosnia Herzegovina, who is a proudly sponsor of this event, about the female empowerment and female leaderships toward the future, because quality and equity and equal opportunities at the heart of all of us here. I want to tell you the story how I came to IoT, because it's something that you will have to face, you here in the audience will have to face at some point of time, right? Maybe some of you are working, maybe some of you will be there in a year or two or three, where you have to will decide for the first employer, right? So my story started when I moved to Austria. So I was introduced on LinkedIn as someone who moved from Velika Kladuša to Vienna. And some of you who are following me, so I am the one who left, right? Because there's this, like the ones who left Bosnia, not in the war, but after the war, right? They are the ones who left. So I was one of the first with my husband in 2013, in September 2013, who left Sarajevo. And I'm one of the few speakers here today that did bachelor's and master's here in Sarajevo at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering. So I have walked your shoes, and I'm very, very happy and grateful and proud to be here among a few and see the progress that has has been made over the 10 last years, because Sarajevo as a city itself is very different than it was 10 years ago. Opportunities that you have here at your disposal as students are miles away, light years away from what we had when we started in 2005 as the first bachelor students at the University of Sarajevo, Faculty of Electrical Engineering. The world was very, very different, and having an internship, which is very common for all of my mentees, was a not known word for us in 2008, 2010. Just a couple of few of my colleagues who were studying computer science were doing internship just after the bachelor to master's. And that was 10 years ago. Not 20, not 50, not long time ago, but that was the time that we had, and we didn't know better. So that was the life we had. And since Eddie started the BH Futures Foundation with all the other great people that are here, I've been a very strong comebacker, I would say. Because when I left Bosnia, the first 5 years, it was like, I don't want to hear about it. I was so angry the first 5 years. I was really angry and so much focused on what I was doing in my career that I didn't want to talk about Bosnia, except for the parts where I go and visit my friends and family, some of them here in the audience, and that was it. The story was closed for me. And that's a story that I hear often from people that I meet regularly, because one of the titles I have is a networking queen. I meet people on a regular basis, and they tell me, oh, Bosnia, it's such a bad place, it's not going better, it's not progressing. And then I start talking about BH Futures Foundation, which was also a turning point for me in 2018, 2019, when I met Eddie online. And this is the first time we meet in person, when we met, and he said like all about these exciting opportunities, and the point that you guys who are taking the scholarships are doing 100 hours of work back. And I met some of the scholars and some of the people. That was so eye-opening for me, and it was this positive thing that brought me back, right? And I see that it's bringing other people as well. So it's important to mention this, because this, what you have inside yourself, there will be the point where someone will scratch it and it will light up, because we need the light. All this technology, all this digitalization, it's not about the tools. It's not about technology. It's not about if I'm using 4G or 5G or 7 or whatever G is going to come in the future. It's about you, brilliant minds that have to come up with great ideas that will live for the next decades. So when I heard about IOT, it was 2015, 2016. It was a very new thing back in Austria. That was a time where most of you don't remember, but it was a time where companies were going from their own data centers to the cloud. That was a big issue, especially in the European scene, and in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, where they were like, we are so protective of our data, it has to stay within our own premises, don't put it in the cloud. Different world, right, today. And one of my colleagues approached me and said, you will be the great person for this IoT team. We are starting a new unit. It will be responsible for the Central Eastern European market, Austria and Switzerland, and we also were responsible for Germany for about a year because of my attitude. Because I was so excited about new things, right? I was like, oh, what are you guys doing in there? So he invited me for an interview with my former manager. And the funny story is, for the interview, I was Googling what actually this IoT thing is, because I didn't know. And we were the pioneers, the first people within Austria that have started us within the Tele2 Group. Tele2 Group is a Swedish corporation, and most of my life I've spent working with Sweden and through Sweden and with the rest of the world, basically. So I wanted to give you that as well, that maybe in a year or two when you do your first interview and there's this exciting opportunity ahead of you and you think like, oh, this looks fun, and the people that are doing are actually enjoying it and having fun with it, maybe want to scratch the surface and go there, right? See, maybe there's something for me. Because I felt at that point of time in telecommunication, I've seen it, right? So it was same of after same, big, different location, but there was no innovation in it. So like there's no disruption in it. There's no new business models. There's something that really excites and unites the industry around it in a way that IoT did, basically, because it was, at the end of the day, something that waken us up. And we were, working in IoT, and still it is. It was like a privilege. People who were working in IoT, it was kind of also very protective about that. Look, I'm working on something that is going to be beneficial for the future, even though telecommunications have changed and keep changing our lives. So I joined the team, and quickly, when you're in a right environment with the right support and with your enthusiasm, it quickly basically took off. So I was able to make a great career, being promoted several times, travel around the world, meet exciting people, do different projects. And what's cool with IoT, if the clicker, no. What's cool about IoT is that you have to be, of course, technological. You need to know technology, you need to understand how technology works, but more importantly, you have to be very creative. You have to, realize that, okay, what is that I am bringing to the market, and how do my customers, partners, and so on can benefit of it, right? So it's not something that you have a handbook, so to say, or the playbook, and we go there and say, okay, if you want to launch smart cities, like Nasiha was saying about, then you have to do these 3 different steps. No, it's not. It's more like a very creative, where you have to try out and very much fail and try again, and very much fail and try again. And when Nasiha was saying about these projects in Sarajevo, about 6 months being delayed, and we applauding her and said that's not for the applause. Well, in the world where I come from, the digital economy world where I live, 6 months is nothing. 6 months is nothing, and the projects, 90% of projects in IoT that have started have failed, because there was no proper. Some of them were early on time, some of them stayed with a certain proof of concept, others basically never seen the light out of the laboratory, the third haven't met the revenue meets, and so on and so forth. And basically, IoT is everywhere. Smart cities was mentioned today, healthcare, automotive. So basically, we had this premise and idea, everything that you see can be connected. And we even had use cases connecting giraffes in Africa and making sure that they're doing well. And one of the ideas that has drawn me to IoT is basically that its idea is to make good, right? Because we said we exhausted all the resources that we had years ago in our Mother Earth resources, and then we started looking into ways how we can optimize and efficiently do certain things. One of the examples I can give you is like a typical example, predictive maintenance and support of different devices. If I haven't seen any coffee machine here, but that was one of my first use cases. So basically it means you don't think when machine is going to break, or you don't plan that that the technician is going to be there in 3 months. You basically have this machine connected. Mostly, what telcos love is to be connected through the SIM card, because that's where the revenue comes from. And but it can be connected through different means, like the Wi-Fi's or the VLANs of the building, depending on the use case. In manufacturing is very different. But basically, this machine can be connected, and then you have a direct contact with this machine, and you can talk with her, basically, how this machine is operating, how is the stand, so basically how many coffees and waters and these and that are available there, so that the people know exactly when they should come and when they should fill it in. And if you think about it out loud, about the use case, it means, okay, I am reducing the number of times that the technician has to go there just for the sake of going there. So I'm reducing the time, so I'm reducing the CO2, I'm reducing, all this, what is not good for the environment. I am, optimizing his schedule. I am doing a lot of these things that are good for the environment. And this is one of also the things that brought me into IoT, because it was the premises, you're doing good, because we have to do it in order to preserve what we have. There will be a test after this presentation. There will be a test about this specific picture, so who can remember it? Joke. But basically, I wanted to tell you that the space of IoT is very complex. And this is important to remember that no one in the industry can launch a solution end-to-end. End-to-end means the device, the SIM card, the data, the server, the visualization, the integration, and all that. So mainly in the industry, it's done piece by piece. So each and every player in the industry plays its roles, and there's a so-called system integrators, large companies that can do all that in comparison with the single partners. And what is also important for IoT is that you see big names like, that they have been there for hundreds of years and done like IBMs, large corporation, Nokia's, who have done a lot of good and big things in the projects and continue doing it. But you will see also small players. So IoT is not about, we need to have a team of 100 people, we need to be located in 10 locations, we need to do this and that. No, there are 2 people that can do and develop a certain application and take the data and make something that people are ready to buy for. And if we are honest, basically, if we are here now in this room, if it would take 10 minutes, we would come up with at least 10 different use cases, what we could do differently and connect in this room, like the chairs. And what with IoT was fun. The first thing that we bet on, and we love it that in telecommunications, is there will be 50 billion connected devices by 2020. So we are now in 2023. We are about 20 or 25 billion, depending on what do you actually count and all of that. So with that hype, it meant that there were use cases, anything and everything that you can imagine. Doesn't mean you need it, doesn't mean that you need a connected chair, connected toothbrush, connected this, but basically this hype also created certain opportunities. Most of these cases have failed because they haven't met the market, they haven't been backed up, or they haven't met the revenue and so on. But basically this hype is also quite important because through that learning and optimize, you can basically get the opportunity to get the ones that will really work out. This picture means that we all have to work closely, so there's not much competition. So if you want to launch a solution, you have to work with partners, right? It's a complex IoT system. And there's one person that can, do it all together. And you can think about it as, if I translate in this room, would be like the group assignment. I recently did my MBA, and then I did group assignments. So like 5 people, and then you split the group assignment, and everybody does its part. And when you try to combine it, it doesn't work because some people write in this way, the other people do just pictures, and so on. So basically, that's also with IoT. You have to create this puzzle. You need to make sure that you have people that can deliver, and then you have to have the overall umbrella or the system integrator that can launch it. I think I have. Okay, this one is fun and doesn't apply only just for basically for IoT. It's the world that we live in, and this is a fun picture. It says Klaus Schwab said it. He's chairman and one of the founders of World Economic Forum, and he says in the new world, it's not the big fish which eats the small fish; it's the fast fish which eats the slow one, right? So that's what I've told you about big corporations, hundreds of thousands of people. Revenue that you can think of, projects that you can think of, cannot launch a solution, faster than 2 guy or 2 ladies startup and launch it to the market. So basically, you need to make sure that you are, and this is what we are doing here as well. You need to be aware of the world that we live in. And this you can translate to any aspect of your life. Skills, for instance. You know it better than I do, so you know more than I do. Basically, all of you here are smarter than I am many times. But basically, it's the speed of our life and speed of technology and speed of innovation that is going faster and faster. So it's really important to be aware of that. And being here at this conference, I hope it helps you to boost that. Some missing gaps. That was the part where I was telling you about optimization, more insights, customer loyalty. So anything and everything that you can think of is basically covered with IoT and can be better. So if there's one word, it's about being better. better world that IoT creates. And these are various cases that you can think, the smart meters. It's not here. I don't know how many are connected in Bosnia Herzegovina, but in some locations like Germany or in Sweden, it was also regulatory compliance that they had to connect each and every single meter, household meter, that had to be connected with a SIM card. So basically it means that not a person comes to you and checks it at the end of the month, or they have to guess it, or and so on. But basically they have a real access to the data and can exactly tell you in the middle of the month or end of the month how much basically you are spending. Now I wanted to play a video with you that it's been relatively old, but still gold. Who noticed the carpet? The one that similar to the Bosnian, yeah? It's all planned. If I get this clicker through. Good. But watching this video, it's clear to you that there is nothing that we in Bosnia can't reproduce, right? It's nothing that is proprietary to the US, it's nothing that is proprietary to Europe. It's all the technology that is available to all of us And some of the people enthusiastically enough from Bosnia and managed to launch the very first IoT product and a service. I would say the complete solution. The company or the startup is called Habitat. So it's about protecting the bees population. And it's one of the first startups that I worked from Vienna over the last couple of years, 2017, 2018. I was contacted through LinkedIn by Semir. He was saying like, oh, you do some cool stuff, and you seem to be very, open, innovative, global thinking company, as Tele2, as a Swedish brand it is. I see Almir is smiling, he knows them. So we started, working together, and working together from our point of view was giving a couple of free SIM cards, free data. Go ahead and try it out, basically, do the best out of it. And what they did, basically, they have this hardware that you put on this beehive, and that enables basically the beekeepers to be aware of, how this beehive is performing, how much honey is there, and they as themselves as well, as you can see here, created a community that Almir was saying before. So because at the end of the day, through all these products, you create a certain community that believes things are possible and see the benefits of such a solution for it. Due to the time, I will speed up, but I wanted to show this. This is one of the guys behind the solution, Semir Šakanović, and I love this picture because he's so proud, right? He won at this competition here at one of the Hub 387. He won this money, and then he invested and launched the solution. So I wanted to bring this specific example because we talk about what is possible in the world, what is possible here and there, but this was possible around the corner. So I was visiting them in their office a few years back. And of course, he's from Velika Kladuša, so where I come from. So I could not resist, and I could not take this opportunity to bring Velika Kladuša to the map of these young and smart people. Anyone here from Krajina? Ah, nice. I know I lost the accent, everybody tells me. But I want you to remember this picture, that of this, how being proud and doing something, is so powerful and so inspiring and transcends all the borders, right? He found me in Vienna, we met, and we do a lot of cool things, and now he's doing something about innovating and building startups. You never stop. So Semir, I know he's watching. He allowed me to do all this, take all this slide set from him and present you to this audience today. Hey. One other example, it's about the cars. In this digital economy, it's not about owning things, it's about sharing things, right? And this is the shift that we have seen over the last couple of years. Out of curiosity, how many of you owns a car? Okay. And how many of you would be ready to share a car? Not to own, but think about in the future to share a car. Okay. Sweden going strong. So this is, and I want to ask you later on, but this is a solution that can be easily replicated, I think. It's not a technologically advanced that you have an app and that you connect the device and you know exactly through the app, you get the code, you open the door, get into the car, drive it for 3 hours, get the, the bill paid by card or whatever. So this is a solution that can be easily replicated and innovate further, depending on the market as well. But I, as a student, could never think about having a car. Also, with the first job here in Sarajevo, after the studies, I could never think of having a car because it was just too expensive. And that, as well, limited me to certain opportunities to go out and know Mostar better or Tuzla or other places. So just bringing up in the cloud. I will then wrap up with a few other slides. Well, what the future holds for IoT, and this is since it's end of the year, so everybody is like putting out the trends. If you put it in the Google, so everybody is giving you trends, and if you're careful enough and go back 5 years, it's very similar. So it's about continuously advancing it. It's about basically making sure that you bring more product, that you innovate on an existing one and meet the customer needs. And the other picture says, the first picture, sorry, it's about, home. At the end of the day, even though we thought about all the possible verticals, the healthcare, the automotive, the smart cities and this and that, but it's still a home. Most of the applications today are found in the home. And they will continue, being found in the home as consumer products. And the last but not least is about, this curve where it tells you that there's no vertical that basically dominates it. It's, except for the consumer, but the others are like slowly coming. So there's no hockey stick what people would expect in the innovation that it is. I will close on this one. And I wanted to leave you my contact details here as well. Some point of time you will have to make decisions in your life that will be very exciting, but also they will scare you. Just like I had to make the decision to move to Vienna and start without a job, about knowing the language, packing all the stuff that my friend brought to the bus station, and we drove 15 hours to Vienna, and the bus driver asked us, "What's with you guys and all these 15 bags that you have here?" Yeah, we are moving to Vienna. So you as well will have to meet certain decisions, strong decisions in your life and in your career that will be very exciting, that you will feel you have to do it, but at the same point of time will be very scary for you. Because it feels like, nobody is doing this. We moved in 2013, nobody was moving. Later on, 2015, 16, and so on, people were starting moving. We were the first one, and nobody else believed that it's possible. Just like with IoT, just like without any disruption and so on, that people don't believe it until they see it. So I want to tell you that you will meet it, and it will be scary, but that's where the good things lay ahead of us. And if you still get scary, here are my contacts. You can find me on LinkedIn, write me, let's have a call, let's have a chat, let's talk about IoT, your career, whatever that comes to your heart. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your keynote speak. So now we have time for some questions, so feel free to ask questions. We will have the timer for how much time we have left. So please start the timer. Okay, thank you. Where are the microphones? Okay, yeah, here.
Can you hear me okay? First, I'm sure there are, but negative sides or dangers of IoT in the future regarding security, cybersecurity, safety, espionage, and so on.
Thank you. That's a good question. What's your name?
Muammer.
Muammer.
Yes.
Thank you, Muammer. It feels more personal. Well, if security was a big topic ever since 2016, 2017, what usually comes, and we had security teams back then, cybersecurity is a big thing nowadays. More devices connected, and so on. But back in the days, the reality was, let's face it later, right? And that's often, unfortunately, the case. If we think about selves, if we step into our shoes, when we have a Wi-Fi, how many of us change the standard password from this Wi-Fi router at home, right? This is the point. That's exactly, the thinking. It's hard. It's later on. It's not a big deployment. It will not happen to us, right? Who are we? We're a small company in Austria. We have maybe thousands of devices. It will never happen to us. And I have some friends who work also in cybersecurity, and when they tell stories, you get chills. And if you look a little bit, if you Google the topic, there are a couple of videos like attackers getting access to the Jeep, the connected Jeep, and it's crazy. And we were talking about that in 2018. It was a big topic. We had a whole team around it. So it's a still present topic. It's a big issue. It's a billions of devices. Someone who don't have the access to it, and this responsibility of it should be somehow shared within the whole parties, right? To ensure that it goes, sits and fits from end to end. So there is no big answer to your question except change the passwords and make them strong. And advocate for that, talk about that. This topic of security comes up in every single report, every single year that is there. Companies, big companies, are taking responsibilities and actions and having security teams, cyber security teams. Nowadays, I see every day for LinkedIn, people are looking for cybersecurity experts. It's really hard to find them, so it's there. Reality is clear, but basically there are a lot of other devices that you as well yourself can buy easily, very cheap, on the market, connect it, put it on the internet, and that can be also an issue. There are these different devices in the home use where people get the access to, baby toys or baby toys being connected, so they get access, to your home environment. They take over of the whole home and things that can be really, really scary. And I think it will, I believe it will, continue, makes us busy about it. And yeah, it's a collectively, as a society as well, we have to as well think about before we engage. Just when we think about, using the internet and posting things out there and comments. So it's us again. So we have to make sure that whatever we put in the internet, as a company, we have the responsibility, but also as individuals, we should ask ourselves, so what is the best thing that we can do to protect ourselves and our privacy?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mame.
First of all, thank you for the amazing presentation, and I'm really interested in this topic. So I have one question. So what do you think about carriers shutting down their legacy 2G and 3G networks? So should electric companies, for example, make a new meter every time an operator disconnects their old networks like 2G, and what would be the appropriate step to take? Because sometimes we have devices that don't require the full 4G or 5G capacity. Sometimes maybe thermostats don't need too much data. They only need 2G speeds.
True.
And should the carriers build another network technology for IoT devices, or should they continue to use their 5G networks?
What's your name?
My name is Haris Gusic.
Ciao, Haris.
So,
can you please send me also a LinkedIn message, because there's one link that I want to share with you. So it's 10-12 minutes of your time, and it gives answer to many of these questions. But in brief, you're absolutely right. And the thing is, with IoT, it was always a global business. So it was about roaming, right? So it was about making sure the device, wherever it is in the world, can roam, right? Can connect to the internet, can send the data. That was the first hypothesis. And then the telecom operators made these roaming agreements and made sure that you can roam. But there are still nowadays, as 3G is sunsetting pretty quickly, and honestly, there's not, I remember this topic started in 2018 or so at a previous company, and then we looked into the data, and there's not many devices on the 3G, at least in our network. So I don't know how, I cannot speak for all the 890 operators in the world. That's one thing. The second thing with the 2G is because, for instance, this emergency SOS calls and elevators, all this is connected to 2G. So how do you, make sure of that? Or the smart meters that have been launched 10 years ago, and they have usually 15 or even longer years when you contract them, right? So you don't replace them every year. I work on a couple of tenders on that, and it's legislation and the governance. It's very, very complicated. So telecom operators have slowly is taking steps, right? And as I see that you know the topic yourself, it's about NB-IoT, LTM. So that's extension of, yeah, exactly. So that's how the telecom operators are looking into it. I don't know how they will I work now more on a software side. So I moved away from the telecom world in 2019. So I work for a software company that develops its own IoT management platform, which basically I go to telecom operators to sell them this platform where they can use to manage each and every device, millions of devices that they have, which they can manage otherwise. So one of the clips that I was mentioning is saying that they will, support the customers through different partners and system integrators to move away from these technologies. I don't know if all these devices, because some devices are smart and some devices are really dumb and cheap, IoT devices, so it's not that automatically it works. Basically, if you try to connect it again to a different technology, that it will automatically respond it. So it might be, we tried some cases in 2019 where we played with the idea, what would it mean and how much would it cost to replace tens of, or hundreds of devices, this SIM card with another technology. It's insane. So it will cost a lot of money, effort to move to this transition to the second or the next technology, depending on the use cases. And I think for these devices or application that you have mentioned, these low power technologies are good because they hold the battery for a very long time. And if we talk about smart meters, you usually ask it for once. You ask the smart meter once or twice a day, so tell me what's the status, send it back. And that's it, basically, and at the end of the month you have collected all the data, so it doesn't consume that much battery, so it's good to look for the alternate. And telecom operators then have a big role in this case, then they have to support through different partners, cooperation, collaboration to ensure that they transition to the next technology.
Thank you
There's no simple answer. There's no simple
Thank
answer.
you so much. Just a quick another question. Should companies and business build their own private LTE and 5G NR networks, or should they depend on the carrier networks? Because some carriers don't yet support 5G IoT plans, such as BH Telecom. Here, I don't think they have any IoT special plans for IoT devices.
Okay, those are two questions. The first question you had was about the 5G. Everybody talk about Gs, and I recently realized that telco operators, they are planning to discontinue talking about the next Gs, the 6th or the 7th and so on. But the thing is, reality, Haris, is that 5G promises low latency bandwidth, a lot of bandwidth. Yes. The application that you can think about today is that everybody is betting on this vehicle-to-vehicle, right? Automotive, connected, you get infotainment, you get everything, you get autonomous cars and so on. So it's a very narrow application field that you are targeting, Haris, compared to all others. And honestly, some of these applications that I mentioned, the verticals that I mentioned at the beginning, at home, you don't connect things like thermostat in this. This is yes. You don't connect it to a SIM card. So I don't have anything connected, truth to be told, at home. This is the only connected thing that I have. So I'm not geek like some of my colleagues, but the ones who have, they are connected to their Wi-Fi. So basically, you don't take another card. So the consumer devices, I don't see that specific demand for the 5G application. And the thing is, what bothers sometimes is that every report that you read out there and every independent analyst tells 5G is going to solve every application. No, because IoT was never about the technology, it was always about the strategy, it was about going to market, it's about the customers, and it was not about if you're going to do. The technology part was always left to the last part of the discussion when you launch the solution and then you discuss. And this is one of the things that all telecom operators in the world agree. Global story, it's not about technology, it's about the strategy, it's about use cases, it's about what you're going to launch to the market. And you had this question about the private LTE networks. Yes. I have a specific customer that I work with them since this year. They are in the far away where it's not the oil company. They cannot have this standard coverage that we have enjoyed today. So basically, they deploy these private LTE networks on their own, right? So there are companies out there that they sell this solution, and it's not that cheap, Haris. Yeah. It's not that cheap. And you need to deploy it, maintain it for specific use cases. So someone has to be, in my world, I know some of your students, but in my world, it's also about money. Right? So where's the ROI? Where's the return on investment? And where's the use cases? How many customers are we going to to connect? How viable is this solution? How the future-proof? And all these questions that I have to answer, and other people in the team that have to answer before deciding on this technology. But this is specific. There are different use cases. There are different telco operators who set such networks for campus, right? For instance, that's an application where they set it out and then basically they test autonomous cars and specific applications.
Thank you so much for answering my questions.
Cool. Thank you, Hans.
Hi, I'll be real quick. One question. How can we make sure that smart homes don't actually turn against us? There was a real case of, in North America, a man had a smart home based entirely on the Amazon Web Services system, and Amazon Alexa falsely accused him of being racist on her own, and the man was locked out of his home for around 3 days. So how can we make sure on our side, and companies who provide us with that tech go to great lengths to make sure things like that don't happen?
And what's your name?
Tariq.
Tariq. Only one thing that came to my mind while you were asking this question is, when Apple or any other device manufacturer updates its service agreements, do you read it or do you accept it? And that's also with other things that we have. We have treated technology as good without asking any single questions because it brings benefits to us. We connect every single day on internet, we share posts and pictures of us or our loved ones or our kids without even thinking for a millisecond what this can hurt. Can this hurt someone? Even though the comment is like, I'm enjoying a nice time in Sarajevo and I'm promoting my country and I'm doing a lot of cool things, but we don't think about it. And I think now it's a very critical time with AI, with all these things that really scare me as well, as a person, as a parent, what this thing can do, right? And as a citizen of this world, what things can do. And it's a really time to start taking technology with first reading what we are really accepting, what we are buying, and really having a dialogue with ourselves and the companies that we are buying, and not bypassing it because it's good for me, it's convenient, it's great, then I will just click, yes, yes, which I do as well most of the time. And then when shit hit the fan, then who's basically to blame, right? So I think that's I don't have any super smart and apart from what I have said, but it's really start for us to engage with ourselves and with people that are providing these services, what is that they're doing to protect us. And recently I saw a really good video from Deutsche Telekom about what you can do from one single picture. It's a different topic, but what you can do from one single picture with the tools that you have nowadays freely available, what you can recreate basically from a small child to the adult, to post into different pages and have everybody plays with it, create fake voices and things like that. So technology is evolving, it's rapidly. We had 15 good years where we did whatever we wanted, but it's really time to us as individuals, that's the first thing, and that we push and ask for all others, big corporates that have all our data. Amma is looking at me.
Okay, thank you all for the great questions. I saw that there were more hands up, but we didn't have enough time, so I'm sure that you'll stick around, so people can approach you and you will answer their questions. So thank you. Big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.